Absolutely. And you know what's funny, Colin, is like if
Yeah.
hindsight's 2020 for sure. And basically every episode in 2024
Yeah.
was the whole self philosophy, right? So physical, mental, spiritual, personal accountability, and strong community. And within all of these episodes that we would have, either even if it was just a conversation between you and I, usually there would be a question alluding to, well, why the whole self,
why.
like trying to build yourself holistically, physical, mental, spiritual, the whole, it takes a lot of work. So the follow on, it begs the question, well, why? What's the point? What's the purpose in trying to have a whole self philosophy to begin with? And so now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Like all of these things are rooted in purpose. They have to be.
Yeah.
That's what should motivate us and inspire us to want to be better in these different pillars and areas of our life. So I think
Welcome to the On the Path podcast, a conversation on navigating life. Join Chris Coker and Colin Creech as they have honest conversations with fellow travelers on the path. In each episode, they explore the physical, mental, and spiritual health aspects of the whole self, striving for personal accountability and a strong community. Gain insights, learn from our mistakes, and hear from guests who have mastered these areas. Step on the path, embracing every challenge and success along the way. See you on the path.
beat you to it.
You did.
My New
How's
Year's
it going,
resolution
Chris?
was clap before you on every episode.
All right. Well, you got the first episode in, but watch your back. I'm coming for it.
All right.
That's my thing. That's my thing. But also back to the show. Welcome everybody. It's great to be back. And Chris,
Welcome.
It's good to be back on the path with you. We never
It
left
is,
the path,
it
but
is.
for the podcast purposes, it's good to be back on the show.
That's an important clarifying point. We haven't been off the path in our daily lives, just, I guess, behind the mic. So yeah, it's
And
good
why
to see
is
you.
that, Chris? Why is that?
It's good to see it because it's a new year. It's a new model for the show. I think we've got tons of stuff. As everybody heard in last, I guess, a month and a half ago about, right? The last episode we did in December, we kind of laid out a new way of things in 2025. And Colin, you and I have spent a lot of time thinking about what that's going to look like this year and how we're going to deliver that to all of our listeners and the folks that are following along on the path. So,
I think you
you
said it best in that last episode. As we're, this show is all about you and I learning. It's a conversation on navigating life. And as we're going through this show, we want to continue to evolve and adapt our format to one, continue to learn, but make sure we're honoring our guest and continue to be focused on topics related to the whole self philosophy. But before we dive any deeper, I believe you have something for me.
Yes. Well, in the spirit of what you just said, you're right. We don't want to be, I don't want to fall into a rut of like just doing things a certain way because we said that's how we were going to do them. So with the icebreakers in particular, I thought new year, it's a good opportunity for us to,
we're not getting rid of those.
Muscle.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a little bit of a left-hand turn here because I feel like you would have saw funny coming. You might have a funny answer, but I'm very curious to see where you take this.
Okay.
You're pretty tatted up for everybody that if you only listen, you don't watch the show. Colin's pretty tatted up, about a half a sleeve on an arm, about a half a sleeve on a leg. At this point in your life, Mr. Creech, if your tattoos described your life as like chapters in your life, where are you now? Like where are your tattoos kind of, you could even nail it down to like your most recent. Where does your tattoos say you are in your life's story?
It would be a story about growth and, maturing over a period of time. That's for sure. It would also be a story about, ability to fund and find, better tattoo artists over time as well. That's a good, so thinking we were on chapter 34 because that's how old I am. And
oh, I thought you were going to say that's how many tattoos you have.
This is a chapter about intentionality. There will be most likely more tattoos in the future, but as they've been the past 3 or 4 years, they're all very intentional. They all tell a story, and they're all, a story of my life. So this is the chapter 34, intentional tattooing.
Good answer.
Tattooing with a purpose.
let me ask you. This is just I'm curious now because I also have
I
some
didn't see that
tattoos.
one. Yeah.
I promise this is a much easier question. When
Okay.
somebody asks you how many tattoos you have, what answer do you give them? Because I struggle giving that answer because I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I guess technically you could consider a half sleeve one tattoo,
Yeah,
but they
that's what
didn't
I
all
do.
start like what answer do you give them? Do you like count every time you've been in a chair, or do you just tell
No,
them?
I say 4, even though there's 2 extremely, half my leg, half my arm and chest, but
Yeah.
4 is the
Yeah.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Whoa,
yeah.
they're like, oh, okay,
That's my
But as soon
favorite.
as they're asked, like, where are they, and you say you got your whole leg done, and half a buttock, that's when it's always like, oh. And then
That's my
with
favorite.
our
And then you'll
corporate
talk to
jobs, it's
somebody
always
that's
a
like,
little
"Oh,
like,
wow."
yeah, oh, what? I don't know much about this person. So yeah,
Yeah. And then you
a little
talk
bit
to
of
somebody that
mystery
has
is
like
always
a
okay.
little heart on their wrist
Yeah.
and a music note behind their ear, and they're like, "I
Yeah.
have 2." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Your tattoos are."
Whoa. How did you know which one? Those are my other 2, man. Come on. How dare
Oh
you?
man, don't tell Brittany I know
Yeah.
about the music note behind your ear. She wouldn't appreciate it.
She can see it. Come on. What? That's not, I don't have long hair. It's not hidden.
That's
I
fair.
don't have that tattoo. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't, but, we'll never
All
know.
right, thank you
Yeah.
for being a good sport.
That was good. That was good. Yeah, it's hard to make it as funny. Yeah, but I didn't see it coming. So per the usual, icebreaker question is going to stick this year, everyone. So, but yeah, back to 2025. We're here. We're really being focused this year on potentially longer form podcast.
Yep.
As we go into this year, a big focus of ours was we heard purpose a lot last year.
Yeah, we did.
And that is a key part of our entire podcast is, living intentionally, living into your purpose. But how the heck do you discover your purpose? That is something neither of us are experts at. And that whole point of this podcast, a conversation on navigating life. Well, let's find some individuals that have got it a little bit more figured out and hear from them. So that'll help us continue to refine and define our own purpose. But our hope is also for everyone listening that, it helps you on your own journey as well, because that is probably one of the most important thing in life. But it's not something that happens overnight, and it takes a lot of intentionality. And we want to make sure our next guest that's already pre-recorded is amazing at it, and put a lot of thought into it over his entire life. And it's going to be exciting for you to hear and for you to come along the journey as we continue to refine and discover our own purpose, but hopefully allows you to do more of the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's funny, Colin, is like if hindsight's 2020 for sure. And basically every episode in 2024 was the whole self philosophy, right? So physical, mental, spiritual, personal accountability, and strong community. And within all of these episodes that we would have, even if it was just a conversation between you and I, usually there would be a question alluding to, well, why the whole self, like trying to build yourself holistically, physical, mental, spiritual, the whole. It takes a lot of work. So the follow on, it begs the question, well, why? What's the point? What's the purpose in trying to have a whole self philosophy to begin with? And so now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Like all of these things are rooted in purpose. They have to be. That's what should motivate us and inspire us to want to be better in these different pillars and areas of our life. So I think it's a good focal point for us to really pin ourselves in on this year. I think it's going to be a really good opportunity to just, as you said, continue our own understanding of purpose in our lives. And along the way, for everybody listening and watching, we want to try to distill what are the tools, the tricks, the tactics that we're using to get there so that you can too, right? Because Colin, you and I have 2 very different purposes. And the same is the case for everybody listening. It's different for all of us.
Yeah.
But yeah,
depends on the phase of life. But you made me think as you were talking, it goes back to our quote that Keith Palmer, quoted on our podcast last year, which was from Nietzsche: "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." And I think that hits it on the nail. And again, just one of those many episodes last year that just continued to just spark this. We know it's important, and that's the whole North Star of this. That's the path. That's where we're walking to. But how do you discover it? And so. We've got a good episode already ready to go, everyone, and it'll be out, over the next few weeks after you hear this one, and excited to share it with you. And we'll continue to, again, evolve and adapt our episodes, but this first episode I'm really excited about, and more to come as well.
Yeah, for sure. And we also, something else we talked about, Colin, is let's generate a conversation kind of at large with you all, with the community. So obviously Colin and I are going to do our very best to bring you guests that we believe are really going to shed some great insights for you and share some really good wisdom for you. And we're excited to do that, but we'd love to hear from you. Like who are people that you would want to have a conversation with? You know, it could be literally anybody that comes to mind for you. Who are those people? And get in touch with Colin and I. You can find us in an email. You can find us on Instagram. Email is chris@thepathpodcast.com or colin@thepathpodcast.com. And then of course, OTP podcast on Instagram, and just reach out and say, hey, I love that episode with Keith Palmer. And, you know, I've got this person that I know in my life that I think would be a good fit. And similarly, questions. What are like questions that you think we should be asking certain folks? And what's your feedback on conversations that we're having as well? So one of the things we want to live into this year is really trying to create that sense of community with you all virtually, so that we can start pulling all of those sentiments into each and every episode.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. You always are so good with the words, Chris. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. And actually, speaking of gratitude, you know, one sort of addition to episodes this year, not every episode, but the Chris and Colin episodes, is really thinking about, okay, what are the little things we're doing in our life that are, you know, helping us live into the whole self philosophy? Again, being really intentional. And so for the next 30 days, Chris and I are going to be holding each other accountable to waking up every morning and reading and journaling. And with the journaling part, just being intentional about what am I grateful today, you know, for, and what is those little things in my life that I'm, you know, grateful for. Practice of gratitude. That's our challenge the next 30 days, is waking up, reading, journaling, and really focusing on, you know, documenting some gratitude every day.
Yeah.
It's had such an impact on my life. It really does just start the day off with a very different tone. But also, you know, as Chris and I are doing this next 30 days, we encourage you to do it as well. You know, and don't do it alone. You know, find a friend, find somebody to do it with, because while you could be very disciplined, it's always good to have somebody on the path with you. Again, back to the strong community.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, gratitude in particular is something. So I showed you earlier, I literally have my journal sitting next to me here, and I'm pretty good about it.
It's a leather-bound book. It's a leather-bound book.
My parents got it for me this past Christmas. They got it for me. And so I have been breaking it in. And I will say one of the things that I try to do is gratitudes when I write anything down. And it's an interesting one, because if I can feel a difference when I talk about my gratitudes. I'm operating from a better place that day. Whereas if I don't write about those things, I don't necessarily feel it in the moment, but then enough days go by and all of a sudden I'm just more pessimistic, or my outlook just isn't coming from the place that it should be coming from. So I think it goes a really far ways. I think it's a great idea. And my goal is to just be able to give you an honest assessment of, hey, I did it again, or to tell you, like, you know what, I accidentally left my journal at home. I took a trip and totally forgot it, and I missed a few days, but give myself
you
grace.
Didn't bring your iPhone with the notes on it? That's strange.
That is called an accountability partner, ladies and gentlemen, where somebody will tell you, like, oh, that sounded like an excuse. Let me level with you. So that's exactly why, Colin, that we do this together. And that's why everybody listening, you should do this with somebody as well.
And when I think about daily reading, you know, a lot of people love the Daily Stoic. I also love a book called The Journey to the Heart. There's so many little books that have, you know, a page, maybe two, that are meant for a daily reader. And so those are also a great thing to use for your morning read. It's probably not, you know, the opportunity to reread all the Harry Potter books. But it could be a really easy opportunity to just have a little bit of a, you know, different perspective before you journal.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, you know what? It's 2025. Like, if you're an audiobook type of person, then put your headphones in and listen to an audiobook for a few minutes, and just you know, whatever the way that you need to kind of consume like thoughtfulness and a chance to learn from somebody, hear another perspective, get your mind in a good place, do that. And then I think doing both is a great idea. But if you're really going to commit, commit on the journaling. Like, I think there is something really powerful about being able to speak to yourself. That's one of the things I love about writing my thoughts down in the morning. Is I've got a couple over my shoulder, a couple other journals from years ago, and I can pick something up and see what I said in 2019, and it's like having a conversation with my old self, and it's really cool to either tease out a quick moment where I was like, oh wow, that was a lot of wisdom there, or other moments where I'll read something I've said and fast forward to today, and this Chris Coker kind of cringes a little bit at what he wrote. And so I think journaling is a great gift to ourselves. So I definitely encourage everybody, follow along. And as I said before, you reach out if you feel compelled to let us know that you and a buddy did it for a week, 2 weeks, a month. Let us know. So, and this will be the first of several, Colin. I think it's a great idea to just try to find these like little challenges and little quick personal development sprints throughout 2025.
Hey, there's 5 tenets on the whole self philosophy. There's unlimited amount of little ways we can continue to focus on them. So
that's right.
With that, next 30 days, looking forward to those morning texts where you tell me you forgot your book, but you got your iPhone and you did your journaling on your notes.
That's
but I
right.
won't make you then recopy them when you get home. But
thank you.
I'll be a reasonable accountability buddy. But with that, Chris, hey, give our listeners a shout out and let's close this out. Excited to be on the path with you in 2025.
Oh, we're stoked, everybody. Buckle up. It's going to be a great year. Cannot wait. As Colin said, we've already got a pretty good episode in the chute. It's a great episode in the chute for you. We've already got a pretty good jump start on the new year. So looking forward to it. Colin, my friend, I will see you on the path.
See you on the path.